Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's Top 10 Ending Credit Transitions for Movies. This video is where I look at films that have a transition to its final scene to its credit sequence that I think is particularly noteworthy and enhance the overall film. To be clear, I'm not looking at films with the best endings, I'm looking specifically at the transition from the final scene to the credits, what music was used, and how it made the ending much more powerful. Some may find this a trivial thing to look at, but I myself always considered the credit sequence as part of the film and not just something tagged on at the end because it needs to be. And I love when films can be creative and make artistic choices with their credit sequences that enhance the overall film. So obviously this video contains spoilers. If I name a film you have not seen and don't want the ending ruined for you, I suggest you mute the volume or skip ahead. So we'll start off with my number 10, The Prestige. The Prestige had a pretty wicked and powerful ending where Alfred Borden revealed they were actually identical twins, and there were two of them who swapped places and shared the same identity before murdering his rival, the Great Danton. Before he died, he revealed to Borden his secret that every night he performed his act, he killed a duplicate of himself, but he never knew which person he would be, the one who was killed or the one who survived. Borden was unmoved by this, but we pan out to see the room that they're in is filled with dead body duplicates of the Great Danton, and then we cut to the credits with Tom York's Analyze, which is the perfect kind of melancholy yet fast-paced music you need for such a powerful ending. Watching the film made me want to watch the credits several times and made me look forward to it most of all, as this is a great song, one in which added a nice contrast to the somber music of the rest of the film. Number 9 is The Underneath. Now, chances are you have not heard of this film. This was a film that was directed by Steven Soderbergh that starred Peter Gallagher, William Faulkner, and it came out in 1995, and many consider it to be one of Soderbergh's worst movies, where I personally consider it to be one of his best. The Underneath was a neo-noir film that told in a non-linear fashion about a man desperate to reconnect with his ex-wife, so desperate it leads him to a life of crime that has serious consequences for all those around him. The film ends with him being tricked by his ex-wife and left for dead as she makes off with the loot. But just when it looks like she's going to get away with it, we see a signal given for her execution. And the signal is given by this mysterious figure known as the broker, who was the mastermind of everything. We then learn the identity of the broker, and it was the protagonist's boss. And right as they reveal this, they cut to black and this funky music here. This was such a huge contrast to the rest of the film, which was dark and dreary and just really low key. And then all of a sudden, out of all this heartache and basically everyone dying, you reveal this funky old dude who likes to eat mints. And he's actually the dude behind it all. And now here's some really happy, fun music. I love when the music contrasts with the mood of the film to create its own tone, and I think it was done beautifully here. Number 8 is Traffic, another Steven Soderbergh film, but this one is more recognizable. Also recognizable is Brian Eno, the composer who made the music, who is well known for creating beautiful music. Traffic was another one of those films that didn't have the happiest of tones, and I would describe the overall ending to the film as bittersweet, as many of the storylines were concluded in a manner where the character got what they wanted, but not in the way that they wanted. The film concluded in a very thoughtful and reflective manner by showing a simple baseball game that was made possible through one Mexican dirty cop's use of blackmailing the DEA. The music was so beautiful and had that quiet intensity that summed up this film beautifully and brought the overall quality of the film up. The first thing I think about when I think of this film is this wonderful ending with this wonderful music. Number 7 is The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Not my favorite Lord of the Rings movie, but I feel it has the best ending, as after the triumphant victory at Helm's Deep, it cuts to Frodo and Sam, who have escaped Faramir's grasp and are on their way to Mordor, but Gollum is plotting with himself to kill them, and then he cheerfully leads them on, and the shot pans up to show Mount Doom and the darkness of Mordor in the distance, and then we get this really sad, creepy song. It was the perfect way to add to the sense of foreboding as Frodo and Sam near Mordor. The song, of course, is about Gollum, as it's called Gollum's Song, and was written by the writers of the film specifically for Gollum, and it was so beautifully expressed the sorrow and twistedness of Gollum, making this the perfect way to end this film. Number 6 is Leon the Professional, a film with a powerful, strong, sad ending where our lead protagonist is killed, leaving Matilda, who loved him, left to fend for herself, and she strives to survive. However, the film closes with Matilda finally planting Leon's plant that he refused to plant all these years, and then it fades into the credits to Sting's Shape of My Heart, which was the perfect song to punctuate the sadness Matilda was feeling at the time, while underscoring a sense of hopefulness. This is one of those songs I like only because of the film, because it was used so powerfully and effectively. Number 5 is 12 Monkeys. If I were going off the ending alone, this would easily be my number 1, as it has, in my opinion, the most powerful ending of any film ever, as young James Cole watching the future version of himself die right before his eyes, just as it was always meant to happen. However, the fade to credits was really powerful as well, as it closes on a close-up of young James Cole's eyes, and then the credits slowly fade into Louis Armstrong's What a Wonderful World, with the 12 Monkeys symbol in the background of the credits. This was such a case of a beautiful contrast, as we just witnessed an immensely depressing ending where the main hero died, most of humanity is about to be wiped out by a deadly virus, and now we're listening to a song telling us how beautiful the world is. But the sadness of the ending does give the song a creepy and sad quality to it. That is just so beautifully done. Not only that, but the whole film was taking place in a decrepit, poor neighborhoods in winter, so very dreary settings. However, to James Cole, who came from a post-apocalyptic future, these dreary settings were beautiful, so this was the perfect song to reflect his perspective of everything, to see the good and the worst, and it just made it that much more powerful. Number 4 is Haywire. Haywire is the third Steven Soderbergh film to make my list, so this guy really knows how to do his endings. Haywire is also a little-known film, but more recent, from 2011. It co-stars big names like Ian McGregor, Michael Fassbender, Michael Douglas, Channing Tatum, and Bill Paxton. The film is a political action thriller that follows an agent played by former MMA fighter Gina Carano, who's betrayed by her employers and is under constant threat of being killed. After killing her main attackers, she goes on to go after the mastermind, who is played by Antonio Banderas. Now, bear in mind, he wasn't the main villain of the film, but he was the man behind the curtain, the guy responsible for her being betrayed in the first place. So the final scene of the film shows him chilling out by the pool in his mansion, looking over the ocean, smoking a cigar, and when he gets up to get some tea, you see Gina Carano jump down from the ceiling, and he just stands there and says, "Shit." And then it cuts to credits with this music. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't care all that much for this film. It was kind of boring and dependent on long, drawn-out action sequences, a bit too much for my taste, but the ending was so freaking amazing. I watched this ending 10 times in a row as soon as I saw the movie. That was just so badass. I love how they didn't actually show him being killed, or didn't have him freak out or scream or try to attack her or anything like that, because this was a badass assassin who had killed every man he had sent after her to kill her. And so when he sees her drop down like that, he knows he's dead and there's not a damn thing he can do about it. So he just stands there and says, shit. And then we cut the credits with this badass music. I love it so much. I can't think of an ending more badass. Number 3 is Memento. Memento had a really shocking, mind-bending ending that actually ended at the beginning of the story, but we learned that who we thought was the protagonist, Leonard Shelby, who was on a righteous mission to find his wife's killer, is actually an insane psychopath going around setting himself up to kill people, but then forgetting all about it. The film ends with his inner musings about how he's just like everyone else, which clearly he isn't, and then it cuts to David Bowie's Something in the Air, which is a very cool song with a cool feel to it. So like everything's awesome and great, which was an awesome contrast, because clearly everything's not great. This psycho's going around killing people. It just added to the what the fuck moment of the ending so well, and just made it so much more powerful. Number 2 is Reservoir Dogs. Reservoir Dogs was a very violent, intense movie about a bank robbery that went wrong, and everyone suspects everyone of being an informant for the police, but they didn't know who, and because it's Quentin Tarantino, it ends with everyone killing each other. So a really dark ending, everyone dies, so obviously it's going to have a dark and a dreary song playing over the credits, right? Wrong. It's got one of the most silly and lighthearted songs you could ever imagine. Put the lime in the coconut, and the contrast was so awesome. I love the way it transitions as well, when Mr. White kills Mr. Orange, and then the police kill Mr. White, and immediately cuts to the jarring beginning of the coconut song. It was just so awesome. It gave such a dark undertone to such a lighthearted song. It was amazing. And my number 1 favorite ending credit transition from movies is Fight Club. To me, this is just a classic. No ending was more mind-blowing than this. The narrator finally defeats his alter ego, Tyler Durden, and everything looks to be fine, and then all of a sudden the buildings around them just start blowing up and collapsing, and they, Pixie's Where Is My Mind, comes on and starts playing, and he just turns to Marlo and is like, you met me at an interesting time in my life, as all these buildings are crumbling around them. And the film cuts the credit with an obvious flash of a penis, which was a reference to the earlier part in the film where it says that Tyler likes to splice porn into kids' films at the movie theater, so it was kind of an in-joke. It was just the perfect way to wrap up this film, and Where Is My Mind was such the perfect song. Not only are the lyrics perfect, but the whole sort of fun feel to it was perfect as well, as all these credit card company buildings were just collapsing, signifying the destruction of society as we know it, and the main characters were just all nonchalant about it. It was just so good. I can think of no other film with a credit transition that was as effective as this one. So that's it for my top 10 ending credit transitions for movies. Be sure to check out my channel for many other videos, including my top 50 favorite movies of all time series, and many Game of Thrones and Star Trek videos, as well as other TV and film videos. And make sure you subscribe so you can keep up with all that. Thanks a lot for watching.